YouTube! Turbo Yamaha R6 update. The second owner of the bike, he reached out to us just to let me know everything that he did to this bike, because he actually went through it very thoroughly. The guy who I bought the bike from, he was actually the third owner of the bike.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is I'm about to actually wrap the headlight while my beautiful queen and our little darling princess here actually wash and wipe the bike down. And I'll let you guys actually hear our conversation. Let's get it.
There?
Yes, sir.
There we go. So that bike has a scavenge pump on it because it's lower than the oil pan.
I see.
Okay, so what has to happen, and then if you look underneath that bike, there's a little round cylinder looking thing in the oil line.
Yeah, I noticed that.
So, okay, so I built that and put that in. Basically, that's a catch can so that when you shut the bike down, it needs to go, the oil goes into that can. Otherwise, it's going to keep going out.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so one of the processes to shut that bike down, it's wired so that you can shut it off with the kill switch, and that pump will stay running for about 10 to 15. You want to let it run 10 to 15 seconds after you shut that bike off.
Oh, wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so, and what it's doing is that oil pump is pumping the oil out of the turbo, and then you'll never get a drip anymore.
Oh, man. I feel like an idiot.
No, so whenever, when you start it up and everything, just when you learn to shut it off, don't shut it off with the key. Shut it off with the handlebar switch, and the key will stay. If it stayed on, it's made to run and wired so that you have to turn the key off to kill the pump.
I see.
But so that catch can will catch what little residual after you shut it down after about 10 or 15 seconds.
Okay, now does that have to come off the bike and be emptied out at any time, or?
No. So what it's doing is it's just basically a mini reservoir. So it's going to collect the oil that's from the pump to the turbo, like that line. It's going to empty that line into it so that it doesn't drip out the air filter.
I see.
So when you run it, it needs to be able to, when you shut the bike off, it needs to be able to suck. You'll hear it in the pump. You'll actually hear it make different noises, and that's when you should be able to shut it down, and then it won't drip any oil.
Okay. Wow, man, that's awesome.
That's one of the key things on that bike that is everybody just doesn't get, that you can't just shut them off. Now, if you had an air filter on it, what it'll do is it'll just soak your air filter, which isn't the end of the world, but it eventually gets so saturated that you can't, it just chokes it out.
I see.
So you obviously don't want that.
Yeah, I'll just make sure I use the kill switch from now on.
Yeah, just use the kill switch, count 10, 15 seconds or so. You'll actually hear it, like I said, in the pump. It'll kind of wind up when it's dry, running dry. That means it sucked it all out. Shut the key off, and you're good to go. Okay.
Wow, man, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's one thing. Like I said, so that is a Volvo turbo. It's off of a Volvo car. It's a TD04 HL is what they call that. Oh. I put that turbo on there because when I got the bike, they had a really huge precision turbo on it, and it was in mock-up stage, so it was never really fully finished. But the turbo that they put on it was so big that when we ran it, we wouldn't get any boost until about 8,000 or 9,000 RPM.
Oh, wow.
Because it took so much, because it's such a small displacement motor. So it took so long to spool up that turbo.
Wow.
So I put a real tiny turbo on it. That's, like I said, that's that one, the Volvo one. It's a real tiny, but it's good for high RPM because it'll still spin up boost at higher RPM. But yeah, that was a brand new rebuilt turbo when I got it put on. When I put it on.
Okay.
So.
Well, that's good.
And then the other thing with that turbo is it's an internally wastegated turbo, which there's a plate you'll see on the side of the header, the exhaust header. It had an externally wastegated one. And the reason I got rid of that was because it was so much extra piping on the side of the bike that it was just a real pain to have basically two exhaust pipes.
Oh, I see.
So I blocked off that plate, or put a plate on that, and then I put an internal wastegated, so it goes through, it'll dump. You actually hear it change tone when you're at that, when it hits certain boost. and then before you know how they work. They don't overboost. It'll dump it into the exhaust.
Okay, man.
But yeah, so that's set right now for about 8 pounds of boost is all it's going to run on 93 octane. You can run regular pump gas in it, but I really recommend higher octane gas.
Yeah, I only run 93.
Just because that's what we tuned it on. That's what it's been ran on. And you did say it did have a wideband when I sold it. And actually, if you look on that exhaust pipe, there's a wideband plug in that. There's a bung already in there I put in there. So you can take the bung out and put a sensor in there and you're ready to roll.
I see, and that's for your air-fuel ratio gauge.
Yep, that's your air-fuel ratio. Yeah, that has an O2 sensor bung already welded in the pipe.
Man, I don't know why someone would remove that. Like, that's so important to have on a turbo vehicle.
Totally on a turbo bike, yeah. So, and actually, we tuned it kind of, what I'm going to say, fat, or rich, as some people will call it, because changing of fuels, I didn't want to have it too leaned out, that if somebody got bad fuel or something happened to it, it was going to be a bad deal. I didn't want to have that happen. So we definitely tuned it fatter. But the headlights are LED headlights, but you can't usually run LED headlights until you have the extended caps put on the lights. So if you look on the lights, there's extended weather type plugs on the back of them. Mm-hmm. That cover the whole, like you would twist it and undo it, and that's where the headlight would be in, or the bulb, I would say. Yeah. So they made custom caps for those to make them deeper, so they would fit an LED bulb in there better.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's cool. The other thing is with the on the boost end of it, it has a Power Commander 5 on it. I don't know if I assume it still does if you pick the back seat off. Yep. So on that Power Commander 5, that is all set up for an auto tune, meaning it will tune with boost.
If I wanted to take the Power Commander off and bring the bike to an actual dyno specialist, couldn't he just tune the motorcycle's ECU?
He could tune he'd reflash the ECU. Yep.
Exactly. Okay.
So you can do that, definitely, but I did it because I had a Power Commander 5, so that's the way I did it that way.
Okay, I see. The only reason I ask is because I've had a Power Commander go bad on one of my bikes, and it made my bike just die right in the middle of the road.
Yeah,
so.
Yep, you will know. Yeah, so I had it. That's why I did it off another one, and then I was used to tuning with them and playing with them, getting a baseline tune in them, because I have, with other motorcycles that's what I've done with them. So I was used to it, so I said, I'm going to try it that way. So
yeah, that's
you
awesome.
can definitely flash the ECU on it. But you got to make sure your turbo guy or your tuner guy has played with turbos before. That's hard to find right now is a tuner that plays with turbos.
I see.
Unless you get a guy that is either drag bike stuff, and they're conservatively boozers or something like that, they can tune them down to street kind of thing. Okay. But yeah, and then that swing arms are custom. Like I said, there's lots of custom stuff done to that bike. I put a brand new clutch in it when I had it. It's a Barnett carbon fiber race clutch. So that's fairly new. I only ran good synthetic oils in it. I don't know what's in it now, but and then the other thing you can check is so it has what they call engine ice in the engine. It doesn't have antifreeze. Really hard for me to get rid of that bike because it took me about a year and a half to do everything of just straight working on it. But it was one of my project bikes. I have one of the 4 I have, so it was like, okay, one of them's got to go.
I understand. So as you guys can tell, Jake saved us a lot of time and a lot of money.
Who are you telling?
And he's now subscribed to the channel. So Jake, if you're watching this, man, I just want to thank you for taking the time to reach out to Two Wheel family.
Yes.
But as you guys can tell, the headlight wrap came out fire.
Beautiful.
Let me give them a way better look because that is just super nice.
That is
wow, look at that. Man, I love it, baby.
Whole new look, baby.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that looks gorgeous. Man, I tell you, it would almost be a sin to not zoom in on this turbo, though.
Show him, baby.
As she is turbocharged. I'm still, like, mind blown that we have a turbo bike, little mama.
Right? Me too.
Such a blessing.
Me too.
Definitely stay tuned, guys, for the Turbo Yamaha R6 video coming soon. Until next time.